Waheguruji Ka Khalsa, Waheguruji Ki Fateh.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Good morning. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Kundalini Yoga as a technology for the Aquarian age. And maybe your first question might be, well, what is the Aquarian age? What does that actually mean? Well, according to different astrological sciences, there's the Vedic astrology, there's Mayan astrology, there's Western astrology, which is based on Greek and Egyptian astrology. This is a time that we're in right now of transition. It's a transition, you might have heard the Aquarian age, that term before. It's a transition from the previous age, which is the Piscean age, into this current age, which is the Aquarian age. There are many different systems that talk about different years when this is happening, but essentially the systems that I just mentioned, the Vedic, the Greek astrology or Egyptian, and the Mayan astrology all point to this time period. You remember 2012 as a big time for a time of transition. So this is moving into the Aquarian age, which is very different from what we previously had. So, Piscean, can you talk about Piscean?
Well, the Piscean age, from what I understand, was very much about like the individual, and in terms of like in spirituality, it was more like the celibate monk who went into the mountains and meditated and reached enlightenment and had his own practice. And from what I understand, the Aquarian age is much more about community, and it's much more about the us versus the I. And you see more people coming out into the world, and those saints that would go and live off on their own in isolation are now coming into everyday the everyday world and contributing to society. And it's more of an inclusive versus an exclusive um, type of consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Another really visual example for what the two ages are is you have the Piscean age, which is the fish. And that's an age where essentially the fish are in the big pond or the ocean, and there's all different qualities of water, but they're living in it. And they're finding the good, clean water. And then the Aquarian age is the water bearer. So it's the one who actually just takes that clean water and brings the clean water and shares it. So this is the time. The previous age was when the individual goes and finds what is wisdom, what is health, what is who am I, what is truth. And this is the time when that is being freely distributed for all, that pure essence of truth. And you find it in mainstream, you find it in books, you find it everywhere nowadays.
And Kundalini Yoga is a technology that was given to us specifically to help us transition into this Aquarian age. So Yogi Bhajan knew that this was coming, and he brought this incredibly complex technology to us to help us essentially change our whole being to be able to operate in the new age and to be able to be those beacons of light in the transition into the new age to help others also awaken. And it's really powerful, it's really strong, really beautiful. Mm-hmm.
In this technology is just like any other form of technology. It serves a specific purpose, and the purpose is to activate the uh, the human instrument, essentially, to be an instrument of the soul, and to wake up this instrument to the presence of the soul, which is said to always be living inside of you, which is always inside. However, the instrument is not sensitive enough. It's not operating in harmony and order so that the soul can be the central commander of the human instrument. So this is really a technology that, and there are countless different specific purposes for specific practices in the Kundalini Yoga tradition, but this is a technology for essentially activating the human instrument, activating the glandular centers which are said to be like the chakras, related to each of the chakras.
And I was just speaking to Ram Krishan Singh before about saying how in our own practice we've upped our practice a little bit more. So we're doing a little bit more of intense kriyas as well as more meditations, different types of meditations, and I feel like all these energy centers are activating. And I said to him, well, it feels like the soul is awakening. And he reminded me that the soul is already awake. What's happening is that we're awakening to the soul that is operating and living through us. And then the more that we're able to get rid of the garbage that gets stored in our system, whether it's physical or energetic or emotions or things in our subconscious, the more we're able to allow for that spirit be to come into embodiment through us, and the more alive it becomes and the more radiant we become, because it's just that soul, that spirit, that spark of energy, of light, of beauty, of love, is just having a really clear channel to express itself. And it's been a really powerful process and really beautiful. It's really amazing.
I've practiced with a different amount of traditions over the years, Vipassana meditation, the Native American traditions, other traditions all over, other forms of yoga even. And I really love this Kundalini yoga. As Yogi Bhajan brought it, he brought it to the West and he really spread it in a way that was current for this age. And the knowledge and the wisdom that he was sharing, a lot, he spoke about business, he spoke about partnership, marriage, he spoke about topics that were really pertinent to what an individual would face on a day-to-day basis and how to approach those situations with wisdom, the wisdom of how to bring the soul's wisdom into those situations, to come out of them with harmony and peace. So this is a technology for today's age. I've practiced again these forms of meditation, and when I was practicing them, receiving great benefit from doing so, and yet my inclination was to go into seclusion, was to want to leave the society, was to want to not be surrounded by a lot of people. And really, this technology encourages the individual to develop a practice where every single morning they wake up before the day starts,
Mm-hmm.
for themselves and for everyone else, before the sun even rises, do their practice, which is their form of prayer, connection, activation, whatever you want to call it. It's their soul reaching for fullest expression and embodiment. And then throughout the day, treat that day as your seva, your service. How are you serving the world? How are you embodying your mission and your purpose? And this is what the teaching is all about. And again, for the Aquarian age, this is an age where people come together and we bring the teachings to life in communal form.
It's absolutely essential for these shifts to be happening within ourselves. We can't afford to be attached to this human body, which is going to pass. We have to start doing things that are going to help the soul, which is everlasting, undying, and was here before we were even come into this physical its existence, and will be here beyond. We have to start connecting with that, and we have to start allowing that to be what expresses through us in the world, because that's where the change is going to happen. That's where the shifts are going to happen. When that light is able to go and light other lights that are just dormant, waiting, just waiting for their souls are just waiting to be ignited. Like that's what's needed, and that's the beauty of this practice. The more people are practicing this Kundalini yoga technology, the more brilliant they'll be, and that brilliance, which is just like the brilliance of the sun, lights up the whole world. And yeah.
Yeah. So we've been graced to find on the internet. Ram Krishankar found the other day a really great resource for people who are looking to start to get into what is Kundalini Yoga, and some really, it's a little intermediate, I would say, maybe not beginner, because the practices are really intense.
Hmm. But
But
anybody could do it at their own level, I think.
sure,
It's
sure.
just because that's the thing. You don't, there's nothing that you have to do. It's not like a regular yoga class, which I was reminded of
Oh, yeah.
the other day when we shared a class, that it's not about the form, it's not about how flexible you are, it's not about how long you could hold the pose for. It's just about bringing your best to whatever it is that you're doing. Whether it's a Kriya that you're holding your arms for 3 minutes, can you hold your arms up for 3 minutes? Can you keep breathing for the 3 minutes? It doesn't matter how fast you're breathing, how hard you're breathing. Can you do it? And over time, your practice evolves and your body does become stronger, and then you're able to do the poses maybe more as they're taught. But anybody can do these. And that's really the beauty of it.
And we were reminded of this yesterday when a yoga teacher in training came to a Kundalini yoga class and she said, "Wow, I at first I was paying attention to my posture and trying to see, am I doing this right? Is this right? Is that right?" And very much of the self, just analysis. And then she said about halfway through she started to relax and she went into the deepest cat cow she's ever done, and just like she felt it. She felt the practice. And this is a practice that it's not about you have to structure yourself in a very certain way. Yes, the postures are very specific and everything is a very specific technology, yet when you start to go into them and develop the inner pressure, you want to be able to match what is coming from outside of us. And if you're in a city, that's a very strong pressure. So you have to develop that inner strength that's going to meet that. And these practices are developed directly to help you to develop the qualities and the inner strength to meet the outside
Mm-hmm.
situations. So when you talk about this is a practice that's going to help activate the third eye or activate intuition, it's going to help to put up, it's going to create the conditions necessary for you to develop the amount of inner strength and pressure to meet the outer pressure, which might seem like just leave it at pressure. So it's pushing.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what we found?
Yes. So during the solstice, during one of the morning sadhanas, Jaidev Singh gave a class. He led the sadhana. And it was the most powerful experience that I ever had. It was just amazing. So the other day, months later, I was looking online to see if there was anything that by him on YouTube, and we came across his webpage, and there's this wonderful, it's the Life Force Academy, it's called, and it's a wonderful series of different practices and kriyas and meditations that they're really, really powerful. And just practicing, today's the third day that we've been practicing them. I feel like things have just started moving in ways that months of practicing other things have not. So I definitely recommend everybody to check out his website. We'll put the website at the bottom of the screen, and it's, you do have to sign up for it, but it's the first 30 days are free, and then beyond that it's, well, you'll see on the website, it's $25 a month. But still, I recommend it highly. He's one of the best teachers that I have experienced, and that says a lot because I've done classes with a lot of really awesome teachers. But just what he brings, the information, that the way he presents it is just incredible. He also um, talks a lot about Ayurveda, and then he's talking about the physical, and he's talking about the glandular systems, and then he's talking about the soul, and he's talking about all these beautiful things and bringing them in this amazing package that is accessible to anybody, because anybody could understand what he's trying to talk about.
I'll agree with all of that. He's a very good teacher. He speaks very clearly, very directly, and he conveys information pertinent to what you're doing in that moment and how it's actually working within the physiological structure to activate greater and deeper awareness and presence of who you actually are. So he's just an excellent teacher, and we are very grateful to have had the opportunity to be able to tap into his live streaming everything that he's sharing
Hmm.
through his website. And so, highly encourage, especially if you're interested in Ayurveda or the principles, the science of how Kundalini Yoga works, because he's essentially, in my eyes, giving a teacher's training through just a class. I don't know
Hmm.
what the teacher's training is, but I get the sense that this is such a rich source of information. So please check it out.
That's it. And if you do start doing the practices, I do recommend following it with crystal meditation. It's like, wow, just the crystals at the end of the practices just make things exponentially just more amazing. So,
Where can they find the meditation?
and you could find the crystal meditation. We just did the crystal meditation this past Monday, and it is on our website, ramchristian.com, but also you could find it on our YouTube channel.
Great.
So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Monday for another meditation. Is there anything else that you want to say?
No,
No?
not now.
Okay.
All's good. Thank you.
Waheguru
Waheguru
Ji
Ji
Ka
Ka
Khalsa,
Khalsa,
Waheguru
Waheguru
Ji
Ji
Ki
Ki
Fateh.
Fateh.
Satnam.